Hello and welcome to our every week issue of Period Global School Sessions. Today we are going to talk about what is Band Score 6 and how to get it. Depending on the aim and the company of immigration, some universities and companies may require mark 6.0 or 6.5. So, you belong to this band if you have effective common language, despite some inaccuracies and misunderstandings. You can use and understand fairly complex language, particularly in familiar situations. Firstly, let's talk about the listening part of the test. You need to get from 23 to 25 correct answers to get 6.0. And here we have 5 key exam techniques of IELTS test listening part. First of all, you have to predict answers before you listen. This helps you to identify types of information required and to have targeted listening. Secondly, identify parallel meaning. Be ready to make the connection between what the speaker said and what the question answers. Thirdly, check grammar carefully. In sentence completion task, you may need to change the speaker's words to make them fit the question grammatically. Fourth, practice using different skills at the same time. You will need to use reading, listening, and writing skills at the same time during this listening section of IELTS. Fifthly, improve your spelling. Your answer may be marked incorrect if not spelled correctly. Secondly, you will get the reading part. There is a slight difference in the tasks for academic and general module. In terms of correct answers, you need to get at least 23 correct answers in academic and at least 30 in general module. Reading is our everything. It not only improves your reading skills, but also helps to get information and ideas for speaking and writing parts of the exam. It's especially useful for people who say, I don't have any ideas. So, grab any book or any article which you like or you are interested in and dive into reading. Here we have 5 exam key techniques of IELTS reading. Firstly, skim read quickly. Try to find the main idea for each passage and of each paragraph. Don't read all details. Ignore any unfamiliar words which you can find in the speech. Secondly, identify keywords. Just scan the passage and the question for words you know, which will be in the passage, such as names of people, names of places, and dates. Thirdly, identify paraphrase. Look for familiar meaning between what the passage says and what the question asks. Fourthly, manage the time. Some questions will be extremely difficult, so you should concentrate first on the question that are easiest for you to answer. Take no more than 60 seconds to consider your answer before moving to the next question. And fifthly, expand your vocabulary. You will find the academic or general module of IELTS reading much easier if you expand your vocabulary. Let's take up speaking part of the IELTS exam. So, you belong to Band 6. If you can speak for some time, keep in the right speed, like in your first language, with little difficulties when using some words, correct yourself, or get lost in words, sometimes making mistakes. You do some corrections in the words, even if it's not always appropriate. You can discuss topics familiar or not for a long time, using wide range of vocabulary and making yourself clear. You successfully paraphrase and use synonyms. You can mix simple and complex sentences when you ask. But in making complex sentences, you make mistakes. These mistakes are mostly grammatical, and examiners still can understand you. So let's talk about how IELTS speaking answers are scored. To get a good score in IELTS speaking, it certainly helps to understand the criteria. The examiner uses 4 criteria in IELTS speaking, and each is worth 25% of your final score. So firstly, it's fluency and coherence. Are you able to keep talking without too much hesitation or repetition? Secondly, it's lexical resources. Are you able to use a wide range of vocabulary and showing some awareness in collocations? Then grammatical range and accuracy. Are you able to use grammatical forms correctly, mixes of simple and complex sentences? And your pronunciation is also evaluated. Are you able to pronounce the words correctly with speaking techniques such as intonations and contractions?
There is a public version of IELTS Speaking Band descriptors. So the first part, as I told you, is fluency and coherence. In this case, the person should be willing to speak at length, though making some loss of coherence and at times due to some occasional repetition, self-corrections, and hesitation. This person uses a range of connectives, meaning coherence linking words, and discourse markers, but not always appropriately. In terms of lexical resources, the person who wants to get 6 points has wide enough vocabulary to discuss topics at length and make meaning clear in spite of inappropriacies, and also generally can paraphrase successfully. In terms of grammatical range and accuracy, as I told you, the person uses a mix of simple and complex structures, but sometimes with limited flexibility, and may make frequent mistakes with complex structures, though these rarely cause comprehensive problems. And in terms of pronunciation, this person should use a range of pronunciation features with mixed control, show some effective use of features, but this is not sustained, and can generally be understood throughout, though mispronunciation of individual words or sounds reduces clarity at some times. So this was like generally accepted version of descriptions.
So here we have 5 exam techniques of IELTS speaking. First one, memorize some checking questions. Be ready to use them when you don't understand the examiner's question. Examples include, I didn't catch that, sorry. Or are you asking about? And so on. I'm not sure what you mean exactly. Secondly, avoid parroting or repeating back the words in the questions. Always try to attempt to paraphrase in your answer or use a substitution such as yes, I do. Thirdly, avoid silence or hesitation. Being silent is worse than making mistakes. Memorize some linking expressions for using when you can't come up with any idea. For example, that's an interesting question, or let me think. What I want to say is, and so on. Fourthly, in part 2, try to keep talking for 2 minutes. This is more important than answering all parts of the question. The question prompts on the card are only there to help you and not direct you. And the last one, in part 3, try comparing different ideas and opinions. They should help you to keep talking even when you don't have any point of views of your own. Now, let's talk about writing task. This is the last part in your test. And first, you'll consider the first part of writing. So the IELTS writing test is marked by qualified IELTS examiners who are intensively trained and monitored to ensure the consistency and quality of marking. no matter where in the world the test is taken. A minimum of 2 examiners will mark your writing test, and sometimes even up to 3 or 4. They do this to ensure the highest level of accuracy and fairness possible. So, your writing task response is scored in the areas of task response, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. To understand what each of them means, you can view the writing band description. So they have detailed information about each phrase, each phase, and how they relate to different band scores that are possible. Writing module of IELTS consists of 2 writing tasks of 150 words and 250 words each. Task 1 requires you to describe some data or a diagram in academic module, or to write a letter in general module. Task 2 requires you to write a short discursive essay, usually presenting your own opinion or ideas on a particular issue. So both writing tasks must be completed in 60 minutes. It is up to you how much time you spend on each task. You must write in pencil and on paper, so there are no computers involved in paper version. Let's talk about how IELTS writing answers is scored. Understanding the IELTS writing scoring criteria in Task 1 and Task 2 is critical to perform well in IELTS writing module. The examiner awards you from 0 to 9 band scores in four scores. So you have to make sure that your answer is you answer the question fully and write enough words, cover the main points, and in terms of coherence and cohesion, do you organize your idea in paragraphs and connect them with linking words? As for lexical resource, do you have a good vocabulary, high-level vocabulary, and is it relevant to your topic, and is it academic or general vocabulary? And last one is grammatical accuracy. Do you make good grammar and punctuation? Do you attempt complex sentences and avoid too many mistakes? Each of these criteria is worth 25% of your IELTS writing score.
Okay, so let's look closely to writing band descriptors. And firstly, it's of course task achievement. So this is the first point which you'll get for your writing task 1. So the person should address the requirements of the task. It means that you should read carefully the task and address directly all the requirements of this task. In academic module, the person should present an overview with information appropriately selected. So maybe either a chart or graph or any sort of diagram which you have to describe exactly. In general training, you have to present a purpose that is generally clear, purpose of the letter. There may be inconsistencies in tone. And you have to present and adequately highlight key features or bullet points, but details may be irrelevant, inappropriate, or inaccurate, such as some of the details. In general, it should be adequate key features. In terms of coherence and cohesion, person should arrange information and ideas coherently, and there is a clear overall progression. So it means that not only cohesive devices should be used effectively, but also the general idea is quite clear from your from your letter. You have to use cohesive devices effectively, but cohesion within or maybe between sentences may be faulty or mechanical. And probably you may not always use referencing clearly or appropriately. In terms of a lexical resource, you need to use an adequate range of vocabulary for the task, attempt to use less common vocabulary but with some inaccuracies, so maybe some high-level vocabulary, and make some errors in spelling, word formation, but they do not impede the communication, so they're not so like big mistakes. In terms of grammatical range and accuracy, the candidate should use a mix of simple and complex sentence forms, and they make some errors in grammar and punctuation, but they rarely reduce communication. So let's take a closer look to band description of writing task 2. In terms of task achievement, while reading the question and while preparing for organizing your answer, you should make sure that you address all parts of the task, although some parts may be more fully covered than others, so this is possible. You have to present a relevant position, although the conclusions may become unclear or repetitive, so if you're not sure in your opinion. And you need to present relevant main ideas, but some may be inadequately developed or unclear. Some of the ideas are not sure, unclear. In terms of coherence and cohesion, you need to arrange information and ideas coherently, and there is a clear overall progression. You have to use cohesive devices effectively. We will list them after this shorter video for you to see how many types of them there really are. But this cohesion within or maybe like between sentences may be faulty or mechanical. You may not always use referencing clearly or appropriately, and you use paragraphing but not always logically, so make sure that you've made this like appropriately. In terms of lexical resource, you should use an adequate range of vocabulary for the task. You have some attempts to use less common vocabulary but with some inaccuracy, and you probably may make some errors in spelling or maybe in word formation, but they don't impede the communication. So it's approximately the same requirements that they were in the first part of writing. And in terms of grammatical range and inaccuracy, they are absolutely the same as they were in the first writing task. So you use a mix of simple and complex sentence forms, and you can make some errors in grammar and punctuation, but they rarely reduce communication.
So here we have general tips for writing task. So firstly, you need to answer both questions adequately. You have to show good ability to organize your answer, meaning you should have logical paragraphs and linking words in your task. You need to attempt to use some high-level vocabulary, even if it's not always accurate. You need to provide an overview with supporting details in task 1, and you have to indicate the position and provide supportive arguments in task 2. Make yourself understood, even if grammatical mistakes are made. As for the writing part 2, the recommended time for this task is 40 minutes, so the rest of the time, 20 minutes, you need to spend on the first part. And there should be minimum 250 words in your task. In this task, you have to write about your opinion on a particular issue or about both sides of an argument. Your question will make it clear which approach you should take. Other topics covered in IELTS writing task may include education, health, technology, work or the media. Sensitive topics such as politics or religion are avoided. So you don't need any special knowledge for this issue, only the ability to present ideas in a logical format with clear linking and appropriate style. So it's either academic or general module. So typically you will write 4 or 5 paragraphs, beginning with introduction and ending with a conclusion. In IELTS writing task 2, it's more important. This task is more important, so you need to spend more time on this task. And we will list some 5 techniques for IELTS writing. Number 1, always make your paragraph plan for writing. There should be some short plan. Just spend a couple of minutes on it. In task 1, each paragraph should deal with an aspect of the data. If we talk about academic module task 1, and in task 2, each paragraph should contain one main idea per paragraph, for general module and for academic module as well. The second one, avoid repeating the same words too many times. So paraphrase the question and vary your vocabulary as much as possible in both writing tasks of IELTS. In task 2 or in task 1, you have to present reason for the data. If we talk about academic writing, you should only describe like what it shows. In task 2, remember that you have to write about other people's ideas as well. So practice like supporting your ideas. And mistakes are much more obvious in writing tasks, and you should be continuously working to improve your grammar while preparing for IELTS task. So you should remember that band score 6 it's an upper intermediate level in European system CEFR, meaning that it's quite confident user of language. To get 6 points, you should have a good level of language, and then you will definitely succeed. And our last tip is never give up. If you've made up your mind to achieve your dream, so seize the moment. This is the right time to go to our school and to achieve your dream. Remember that there is no magic in learning English, and it's a hard work and it's a challenge which requires your dedication of time, your efforts, and of course your abilities. Thank you very much for your attention, and goodbye.